Avengers, Disassemble. Crystal Dynamics has ended support for Marvel's Avengers. This was something that was potential that we all speculated could be coming following Square Enix selling off a number of their Western studios, which included Eidos, Montreal, and Crystal Dynamics. But it has finally come to pass. The last major update arrived at the end of March, and the sun has set on what is sure to be a controversial game of a beloved IP. So, just to kind of catch you up, if you are new to this, if you haven't followed it, Marvel's Avengers was a blockbuster AAA action-adventure video game developed by Crystal Dynamics, and it was published by Square Enix. And it received its fair share of criticism since its release in 2020. The game has its strengths, absolutely, such as a beloved and well-written character in Kamala Khan and a satisfying combat system. It suffered from numerous flaws that detracted from the overall experience. One of the main criticisms of Marvel Avengers is its lack of content. The single-player campaign can be completed in a matter of hours, and the multiplayer mode is also limited in terms of missions and objectives. This left players with little to do once they had completed the game, which can be a major disappointment for those looking for a long-lasting experience. This is a live service game, after all, or it was a live service game. Another issue with the game was its repetitive missions. Many of the missions in the game involve fighting off waves of enemies or completing basic objectives, such as destroying a certain number of drones or collecting items scattered throughout the environment. While these missions could be fun at first, they quickly became tedious and dull, especially since there is little variation between them. And again, this is also heavily weighed down by very boring and dull enemy variety. There's just nothing there. The game's technical issues have also been a strong point of criticism. Players, since the beta, have reported numerous bugs and glitches, crashes, freezes, AI issues, and these issues can be frustrating, especially since they can interrupt the flow of the game and force players to restart missions or even the entire game. And we still have issues that have been around since the beta. One that you may remember from our channel was the addition of when you go into a match, you have 4 players. And when you go into a match with 4 real players, there is a bug that can add 1 to 2 AI Avengers into the game, giving you up to 6 party. That's been there since the beta. It is still there to this day. And in addition to these issues, Marvel Avengers also suffered from a lack of innovation. While the game's combat system is satisfying and allows for a good degree of customization, it doesn't do much to differentiate itself from other action-adventure games on the market. To put it frankly, there are games that do it better. And the game's story, it simply didn't take many risks or explore new territory, sticking to a fairly standard superhero narrative. Yes, Kamala Khan was a wonderful way of introducing us to this world, but the other Avengers are bland, cookie-cutter archetypes. They are the stereotypical comic book superheroes. There is very little depth. There's very little explored with them. It is a severely disappointing, especially given the near 80 years of comic book history. And the game's microtransactions have come under fire since the beta as well. While they are optional, they can be seen as exploitative. Players were offered the chance to purchase various cosmetic items and boosters that can give them an advantage in the game. And this can be especially frustrating for those who have already paid the full price for the game, as it can feel like they are being pressured into spending even more money. So the news of Marvel's Avengers shutting down really didn't send shockwaves throughout the game industry. It just felt like it felt like a very eventual arrival. It felt like we all knew it was coming. And one of the main reasons for the game's failure was a complete lack of interest from the player base, and not even just from users who had picked up the game, but even from, again, spectators wondering, oh, should I pick this up? Should I watch a video on YouTube? Should I, am I interested in this? I love the Marvel IP. I love the MCU. I love the comics. I love the other games. Should I check this out? There was never a reason to check it out. And despite the massive amounts of hype leading up to its release, the game failed to meet the expectations of many fans of the Marvel franchise. It failed to meet sales expectations. It failed to meet the expectations of Disney. It failed to meet the expectations of Square Enix. The game's repetitive missions and lack of innovation left players feeling bored and unengaged, resulting in a drop in active players over time. This, in turn, made it difficult for the game to generate revenue, leading to financial losses for Square Enix. And it was just... It was a self-fulfilling prophecy because it just kept cycling in on itself. There was, as time went on, there was still a significant drought of content. There was a severe lack of enemy variety, of iconic Marvel villains and Marvel bosses, of iconic Marvel... I mean, like, really, and again, I'm sure we could debate, the playable roster. We could have a whole video debating that, but a severe lack of iconic Marvel heroes that were playable as well. I mean, you could look at it across the board and say, where was this villain? Where was this hero? Why isn't this a boss? Why isn't this guy playable? Where's this character that could be a really good NPC? It could go on and on. Like, legitimately, it could be a detailed video on its own. And another issue with the game was its reliance on microtransactions. Again, like we said, they were optional, but the game heavily incentivized players to purchase in-game currency to buy cosmetic items and boosters for that advantage. And players saw this as exploitative, and it soured their opinion of the game. Then the technical issues. It played Marvel's Avengers when? Since its beta. Players reported this, and nothing was done. Right up until the very final patch of the game, we still have bugs that we've been dealing with since the beta in 2020. So the decision to shut down Marvel's Avengers has left its core fan base, which has shrunk significantly, disappointed and frustrated. There are some who spent hundreds of dollars on this game, potentially depending on the addition of Marvel's Avengers that you bought, when you bought it, and how much you spent in terms of cosmetics and inside the marketplace. You potentially spent hundreds and hundreds of dollars on this game. And I know we all hoped for more content and improvements, but this investment left all of us feeling like it was a huge waste. And so now the future of these beloved characters in gaming is uncertain, and fans are left wondering if we will ever get a satisfactory game featuring the Avengers. Overall, the failure of Marvel's Avengers can be attributed to a combination of factors, including a lack of player interest, over-reliance on microtransactions, technical issues, a lack of any kind of clear and concise roadmap that detailed internally, we're going to work on this and get this release in a schedule, a lack of an awareness of proper leadership that said, you know what, we're developing a live service game, let's learn about this and let's get proper experience and let's make sure we launch with the best live service internal plan possible. This was not something they had to show consumers. But to not have an internal plan, for a live service game is, for me, in my opinion, a absolute sin. To be that greedy that you basically looked at it and said, the MCU is popular, Marvel is popular, let's put this out as quickly as possible. Just the sheer greed and ignorance of that shocks me. So yeah, the decision to shut down the game is a disappointing end to what should have been a promising franchise, and it serves as a cautionary tale for developers and publishers to prioritize the needs and interests of their players over their own financial gain. Thank you all so much for watching. Please consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel, sharing our content with others. Above all else, and most importantly, stay safe, take care of others, and have a marvelous day. Bye, everyone.